All right, Knight. Thank you for taking a minute to chat with me here. I'm really excited to learn a little bit about you and your story and your background. To kick us off here, can you introduce yourself and share a little bit about your background?
Yeah, I'm Campbell. I'm excited to be here, and I think the power of stories is a big thing that we teach on our adventures. So it's cool what you're doing, getting stories to help other people along their journeys. I own and help operate Cairn Leadership Strategies, where we take business leaders on outdoor adventures and give them a rigorous leadership curriculum. And that usually looks like a weekend, could be other, they take teams out doing different things as well, from mountaineering all the way to canoeing. So all kinds of stuff all over the country. And it's an amazing job. I talk to leaders in companies all the time just before this, and someone was like, I wish I had your job. And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty awesome. But as we talked about earlier too, being an entrepreneur can be a rough game and take some grit too. So it's fun.
Great. Can you tell me a little bit about what led you to founding your company and kind of your background that led to this current role?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and the answer that I hope people hear is you can start somewhere and end up somewhere completely different. Like you can reimagine your life. So went to the Naval Academy, flew helicopters for the Navy for 10 years, spent another 6 years in the Navy Reserves. And through that experience, kind of stumbled upon this. The Naval Academy has a great experiential leadership development program that I was fortunate enough to be part of. My wife was working there, and she said, "You should do this." And like most of the good things in my life, it's just my wife told me I should do it, and I said yes. So that's a good life rule. If your wife or spouse or partner says do something, maybe you should do it. And I saw the power of it there. I taught a full semester leadership course at the Naval Academy, and I took midshipmen on a 1 day mountain climb on a totally separate thing, not even leadership related really. And I saw them learn more from that than from my whole semester class. I found that being outdoors, being able to reflect deeply, being in some risk and confronting that adversity with other human beings just brings out all kinds of lessons. So as I transitioned from the Navy, I started this company. I bumbled through all kinds of different things, made all kinds of mistakes, still make mistakes every day, but I've got a great team around me that keeps me mostly on track.
I love that. Can you tell me a little bit about what you love about the work that you do?
Yeah, I get the question all the time, what's your favorite adventure? Because like I mentioned, we do mountaineering, which I love. We do rock climbing. I love that. Canoeing, love would be a strong word for canoeing, but I do enjoy it quite a bit. But it's really not about that. It's that moment all the time. I get to see people do things they didn't believe that they could do. So if it's rock climbing, if it's getting to the top of a mountain, if it's even turning around on a mountain because the risk is too high, they didn't believe that they could do that. And you see this kind of light. And as an entrepreneur, I see that, and people come down from their first rock climb, first time making it to the top, and they're like, if I can do that, I can do anything. Like I have this business idea that I want to try, and I want to, ask this person to marry me, or like whatever it is. All of a sudden, all these possibilities open up, and it's just so cool to see that light in people. So I really enjoy
What
it.
is something unique or unexpected that you've learned along the way that you maybe didn't think would be the case going in, but has turned out to be something you've noticed over time?
Yeah, I think coming from the military, leadership was very mission centric in a good way. We have a mission. That's the whole point of being there. And there are instances where the mission comes before the people. The people, they say mission first, people always. I had that mindset of we got to go get things done. And I got the opportunity to be a National Outdoor Leadership School instructor. And it's a 30-day expedition, basically, an audition to become an instructor. And the people that I got to interact with there were completely different. They weren't from the military. They were outdoor educators. They had different walks of life. And Knowles in general looks at life a little bit differently. It's like, well, the mission's cool, like climbing the mountain, getting to the top, whatever it is. But it's really about this community that we're building and the people around us. And you could ask my team, like, I probably still struggle with that sometimes. I'm like, okay, the mission, like, what are we doing? What do we need to get done? But that's a paradigm that I've tried to shift through my leadership of maybe we don't finish the mission, but maybe we become tighter as a team, or our culture becomes better, and it sets us up for success in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. What is it? What is you're an entrepreneur. What is to you kind of the most challenging piece of being an entrepreneur and kind of starting and owning the thing that you do with your life every day?
Yeah, you just not knowing. You just never know. Like you said earlier, right now we've got a tailwind, but winds change on a daily basis. I remember we were 5 years old. Somewhere in the first year, I talked to a guy in my space. He said, "Yeah, I just got this, $500,000 contract with a big company, and I don't really know if I'm going to make it or not." And it kind of hit me there, like, "Oh, you always are in that space as an entrepreneur, as a company owner. Like, you can't take anything for granted. You could be Xerox, and all of a sudden, you didn't shift or pivot when everybody else did, and the floor falls out from under you, and you have to figure it out, which is scary and frustrating and anxiety producing, but also really exciting. Like that's why we like it, because we don't have the answers and we're trying to figure it out all the time. So it's like a love-hate relationship.
What do you think are some skills or qualities that either you have or people who are entrepreneurial might have that are important to being successful when you're going out on your own and you're kind of pushing to do things yourself?
Yeah, I think, so many. I don't know that they're different really for just being a good human being or being a leader in general. But I think a important skill for an entrepreneur is comfort and ambiguity, like feeling okay with not really knowing what you should be doing that day. Curiosity, like you have to have a vision, and that is so easy to say, like come up with your vision statement. And it's taken me 5 years to get to a place where I'm kind of okay with our vision statement. I still want to tweak it. And it's my job to help other companies come up with vision statements. Like it is really hard to know where to go, especially if you're coming from the military or the workforce where you have a boss that says, like, here's the strategy, here's your KPIs, hit these, you're on track, don't hit them, we need to talk, right? Like that makes it really easy. So being able to live in that ambiguity and create a vision is really hard and really critical, but it's no different than living life, right? Like you got to come up with a great vision for where you want to take your life, what kind of person you want to be, and live that out too. So I don't know if it's entrepreneur specific.
No, absolutely. I think there are a lot of people out there that don't see themselves as entrepreneurs. They think it could be an interesting thing, or they kind of have a broad interest in it, but they don't see that in themselves. What would your advice be to those people that don't feel like they are entrepreneurs but are interested in that path? What might you tell that person to help them kind of shape their mindset and kind of unlock that for themselves?
Yeah, I guess two things. One, take the advice I wish I had taken and like do it on the side. I just jumped in, like, and it was like an icy cold lake up in Colorado where you are. And I was like, oh, I can't breathe, right? Like, I wish I had gotten a job in this space and learned a bunch and gotten some more information about what leadership development is all about, and kind of built this on the side, built relationships and network, and then eased into it. So you don't have to just jump off. You don't have to quit your job. You can work an hour or two a night, after the kids go to bed. Or if you don't have kids, after dinner, just plug away, work on the business plan, connect with people on LinkedIn, interview people in the area or the discipline that you want to start a business in and learn. And then two, and this is really leadership advice, I think, as well, but your understanding is going to change every year. And so you have to revisit all of the basics. If it's leadership, like communication, decision-making, emotional intelligence, whatever it is, like you will have a different perspective on life. So as an entrepreneur, you got to go back to the basics of customer research and market research and marketing and sales, and take classes, because people are going to give you all the advice you need day one. They're going to tell you, like, this is what you need to do. And you're like, that doesn't make sense, or that seems really simple, I don't understand it. And then now 5 years later, I hear the same advice. I'm like, yeah, obviously, like that makes so much sense. Let me go do it. And it's quite easy. So I think those are two things that people can think about.
You work all day helping leaders to develop themselves as leaders. You kind of touched on this in the previous question just now, but if you could distill kind of some of the most important skills or qualities that you try to help leaders develop in your programs, what would be a few of those that you really think are kind of the most important drivers of a leader's success?
Oh, I wonder if you asked me this question like every day of the week, if the answer would change every day. It depends on what you need. I think it's deeper than skills. Like you can take LinkedIn learning classes about communication, decision making. I've taken great classes at Ivy League schools and just online. It's pretty easy to get into and take those classes about skills. I think it really boils down to self-awareness. And we use a framework kind of like Daniel Goleman's emotional intelligence. It's like getting awareness around those skills. Like I can tell you the skill of communicating, unless you understand how you listen, what active listening looks like to you, how you have a coaching conversation, what coaching looks like for you, what storytelling looks like for you. It's just all words. It's just checks in the box. And so getting that self-awareness of like, oh, I'm not actually good at telling stories, or I'm the boss and everybody laughs at my jokes, but I'm not actually funny. So I need to stop telling bad jokes or learn how to be funny. That's really important. And I think there's a deeper level still of character. Like, who are you? What are your core values? How do you put those into action every day? I'm not as good at it as I would like to be. All kinds of people come on our trips and we talk about core values every time. And a lot of them have never thought deeply, or they did when they were 20 in college and haven't for 30 years since. Like, what are your core values? And then what does that look like every day? If my core value is kindness, am I writing thank you notes to people I care about? Am I stopping to hold the door for someone when they have a bunch of groceries in their hands? Or am I self-absorbed and going through my day and just saying that I'm kind? Yeah, I think like the character is really important.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I think when you get to the fundamentals, well, you can't go any lower. So that's what you got. Last question for you. Let's say at some point that some young person, maybe they're in high school, is watching this and they see your responses and they say, that path that Knight has taken, that's really attractive to me. Very specifically in terms of outdoor education, adventure education is maybe what you would call it, adventure training. What would your advice be to that person in terms of how to follow in the footsteps of the path that you've taken?
Yeah, that's a hard question. So we are leadership development that happens to be outside. So my path is like I did a semester in an errant PhD. I've done coaching certificates, like all this other stuff. If you want to be a guide, I think this is awesome advice. Like, go outside more, right? Like National Outdoor Leadership School, Knowles, amazing organization. I instruct for them. To get into a position where you can instruct for Knowles, you need to have done a lot of stuff outside. You need to have a resume that says, I can spend 5, 10, 20 days in the mountains and take care of myself and be safe and manage risk. So yeah, it's like cool advice. Go outside more because people are going to look at that. The next layer of that is to get a wilderness first responder. That's like a 10-day, 7 to 10 day course. And it teaches you how to manage emergencies, how to basically keep people stable long enough to get them to qualified like doctors and emergency medical technicians and things like that. So if you can say like I've spent 10 to 20 days outdoors in the wilderness and kept myself safe, and I've got a wilderness first responder and I know how to keep other people safe, like a lot of guide companies will say, come on in, let us give you the internal training. If you're good, we'll send you to outside training, the American Mountain Guide Association, stuff like that. And you're on that track. So, yeah.
Knight says, put down your phone, go outside. That's fairly straightforward. Yeah. Awesome, Knight. Well, look, I really appreciate you sharing a little bit about yourself and your story and what you do. I've enjoyed learning about it, and I appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to tell a story.
Sounds good. Stay there.